our next guest today is Graham Watt, who is the project coordinator for the Kettle River Watershed Management Plan. And Graham, the floor is yours.
Sure. I'll just take a few minutes of your time this morning. Perhaps I can come back for a more detailed presentation about the state of the watershed and
yes.
I think this initial thing is to say hi and this is what we're doing and to invite you to the workshop on October 12th. So the Kettle River Watershed Management Plan came about as an initiative of the Regional District of Kootenay Boundary to understand how the watershed is doing, understand flows and water use and impacts on aquatic ecosystems, and come to develop some recommendations for local government and going towards provincial government and other authorities as well as landowners, industries, etc., to help manage the watershed, help manage the river and water use more effectively, try and coordinate our actions. So phase one of the project was doing a state of the watershed, and we're doing some final revisions now, just some minor things. We'll be publishing it very soon. There's a draft that's available on our website, and there's a link to it, to the draft on the brochure that I'm passing around. So you're welcome to peruse that and get any comments in, and we'll be wrapping that up very quickly here. The second phase is all about connecting with all the public, all the stakeholders, all the people around the watershed, and sort of three aspects to what we're doing. The first one is understanding issues and concerns that people have about the watershed. So are people worried about flows in their area? Is it the aquatic ecosystem? Is it the fisheries that they depend on or use for recreation? Is it water supply for agriculture? What kind of concerns and needs need to be addressed? And out of the values that are identified this fall and winter through our various consultations, will be developed kind of a what we heard about the issues and a vision document which guides our development goals. So next year, the big focus with the advisory group, Jenny into the rest of the group here, we have about a 30-member advisory group that is meeting monthly or so to develop oversee the development of the plan. Next year, it's laying out the goals and objectives in more detail and working on recommendations to achieve those, aiming to have a final plan by the summer of 2014, so basically a 2-year planning process starts last summer. So the October 12th, there's a letter in here with the invitation, the second page. We're having a meeting up at Rock Creek for the advisory group and also any members of the public or other stakeholders who want to attend. The morning is the agenda is on the second page. The morning is learning about watershed planning. There's a great publication from the Fraser Basin Council last year called Rethinking Our Waterways, and it's really to help identify how we can work together to meet the challenges of watershed planning in an era of climate change and other constraints happening. And then Nelson Jettel from the Okanagan Basin Water Board will be talking about watershed governance. And this is how people with all their different jurisdictions and all their different responsibilities can actually come together to help manage the shared issues with watersheds. And then in the afternoon we'll be exploring some of the issues in the Kettle River watershed in more detail, so having small group discussions and looking at some of the challenges and some of the opportunities for addressing those issues through this process, through the planning process, and starting to put down some thoughts about what people see as a future that we want to move towards as we realize those opportunities. So we're not just reacting to issues that we see now, but we're looking forward to a future that we want to plan for. So that's the gist of what I want to say. Any questions, first of all, about what we're doing or anything that you think in particular needs to be addressed? We're still at the phase right now where we can look for further studies, use some, generate some interest at the advisory group from different community concerns. So, any questions?
I have a dumb question. Would this include Christina Lake or not?
Absolutely, yeah, the entire watershed.
Can we bring up issues about those horrible monster boats make so much noise and scare everybody away from swimming at Christina Lake?
It's a good question. So the Christina Lake has a watershed management plan that's updated annually, right? And I think my understanding of our direction is that we're going to look to that document as kind of that process to bring forward the concerns that come from there. But it is connected to a larger issue of overall, boats on the river and access to the river, kind of some of those larger questions. And I think concerns that are brought forward would be addressed in that way. So I think, totally respecting the process of Christina Lake Watershed Plan, I think that's the best venue. But if there's issues emerging within there that need broader attention or that are emerging on the river, and I've heard concerns about jet boats and that kind of thing on our river, that's definitely been a current concern on the Shuswap River since, for instance, downstream of Maple Lake. I think they could be addressed overall. So it is a good question.
Yeah. Any talk about, say, run-of-the-river power generation?
That was, actually, speaking of the double, I was just reviewing the environmental assessment for the Cascade Heritage project and looking at because that happened before I was here, right? But I'm getting up to date on all the discussions that have happened so far. Storage, power generation, flood protection, these issues have already been starting to come up both in stakeholder discussions and with the advisory group. I think the plan will address, for instance, we'll certainly identify values that must be considered in any proposals, and certainly in line with the best of environmental assessments and that kind of thing, but also looking at constraints and trying to I guess get the most holistic take on it. The scope of the project, though, doesn't allow specific proposals or specific projects to be developed or feasibility studies done for our plan. That's after this. Else. But this would certainly identify needs, constraints, conditions, that kind of thing. That would set the stage for those projects. Okay. I think in particular, at the last meeting, we talked about the potential for off-stream storage for various purposes, and the question came up whether the water reserve would affect the potential for using that storage as hydro at all, as a supplemental use, right? So I think that we need to do further investigation on that. That's definitely on that. Thank you.
Just on that topic, sort of, because a lot of people are unaware that this document exists.
Right. In
the basement of City Hall somewhere, gathering dust, is a thing called the Smelter Lake Feasibility Study. Has anybody else read that? It's very interesting, and I think it was done in the 70s, and a team was hired, and they came because there's always been this controversy over putting Smelter Lake back on the Granby River, which was for generating power. And anyhow, they did the whole watershed and what would happen, and they came to the conclusion actually that this lake was very low and that it would just fill up full of sediment within about 5 years. So it had no real feasible potential to ever work properly. See, it didn't exist for that long even originally. So anyhow, it might be a good document for you to fish out in case somebody brings that one up along the lines too.
There also was a study done in 2007 by the Prairie Farm Rehabilitation Administration, which was used to be part of Ag Canada's sort of water development side, and it evaluated 2 sites on the Granby, including a Burrell Creek, I would say Burrell, but for potential for flood mitigation and for reducing damage from floods, and basically the findings were that it wouldn't really make a lot of difference for flood damage because the size of our spring flows are so large compared to the amount of storage available. And there could be other benefits that would be considered, but the flood reduction wasn't one that was likely at those sites.
Yeah.
So I think we're definitely looking for any kind of findings that have been found. So so far about these kind of things to help guide our discussions, just so we're not going to go back and repeat old conversations.
I don't know if, I think I still have my copy, but I remember
Well-
I found out it was at City Hall, and if you asked the...
I think I've got it on my laptop. Unfortunately, I can't get into it.
Yeah, that'd be actually good, because it comes up every once in a while, somebody
Yes,
will...
I haven't seen the 1970s study.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it was the 70s, but it's kind of cool because it actually gives you a lot of local history and stuff in there too. The whole story behind the dam. And
So any concerns in particular that are top of mind right now that we should be thinking about? I think when I come and give the presentation, we can have a fuller discussion about that particular, but anything that you'd like to see addressed.
Marshall Lake is another one, I don't know if that's in your purview, but that's another situation where there's some discussion about whether it makes sense to drain the lake or whether it's drained that makes it more available to mining interests and that sort of thing.
I think it's a really good conversation to have to look at both implications for site-specific. I think we're not going to be responding directly on the site-specific decision about Marshall Lake. We're not there yet as an advisory group. We just started meeting, but it really does bring up some important issues about tenure, about long-term, management of storage structures, about liability, et cetera, right? Because if we go into things, not even the issue of satellite came up this year about as it was rising quickly, and springs were showing up in the area that hadn't flown for 30 years. So my phone was all lit up with about what's this going to mean for storage and that kind of thing. So I think we're going to study it in depth, and if there's anything that we do have coming out of it that would speak to the process, I don't know that it would happen in time. But
Well, these are just local areas, I think, of concern, such as the mining operations up by the Phoenix Cross Country Ski area. We were told they were going to happen, and the company was going to put all this money aside in case anything went wrong. And then we heard that the company went bankrupt, and then we heard they're mining it again. So that's another big area,
Right.
and there's a lot of, I think there's disagreement as to where the watersheds connect from there, and what the use of that water is, and then what happens with the pollution, and liability, that sort of thing.
So getting back to the opportunity on October the 12th, is anybody willing to, in a position to commit today?
I've got it on my phone.
Okay, because you have to advise.
Yeah,
Graham.
I'm actually going to be in, because I have to go through to Penticton.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So I can do the day, my wife can pick me up there after it's done, and then we can continue on.
Perfect.
So I got it on my phone.
And Graham, I'll be attending as well.
Excellent. Sounds good. You there? Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Anybody else?
That gets some good numbers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.